Maya's first encounter of the year with the school's administration came during an assembly where the principal, Mr. Thompson, introduced a new set of strict rules aimed at increasing discipline among students. As he recited the list with a sense of pride, Maya felt a knot form in her stomach. These regulations were nothing more than shackles, designed to stifle creativity and individuality. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with determination. She had to make her voice heard. Over her lunch break the next day, Maya gathered her friends Emma and Liam in the corner of the cafeteria. "We can't just sit here and accept this. They're trying to turn us into robots," she said, enthusiasm bubbling beneath the surface. Emma, usually reserved, nodded in agreement. "You're right, but what can we possibly do?" Liam, ever the pragmatist, looked skeptical but intrigued. Maya leaned forward, her passion igniting. "We need to organize a meeting. Let's talk about what these rules really mean for us." The plan was set in motion like a train leaving the station, and Maya took the reins with fierce intensity. Flyers adorned with bold lettering, "Free Your Mind," quickly littered the school hallways, adorned with Maya's signature flame artwork that embodied rebellion and creativity. Each passing day saw more students drawn into her movement, inspired by her fearless nature. Yet, as the assembly date approached, the administration caught wind of Maya's efforts. During a rare moment of calm, she was summoned to Mr. Thompson's office. Sitting across the polished desk, she faced the imposing figure with unwavering resolve. "Maya," he began, his tone both tedious and stern, "we're concerned about the messages you're spreading. This is a place of learning, not anarchy." Maya met his gaze directly, defiance lighting up her eyes. "Learning shouldn't mean accepting everything blindly. We need space to express ourselves, not be dictated to." The confrontation escalated. Words volleyed like a tennis match. Mr. Thompson laid out his version of order, neatly packaged with statistics showing declining behavior among students. But Maya had done her homework. She countered with data from successful schools that encouraged creativity and collaboration among students. The conversation thrummed with tension, neither willing to back down, yet intrigued by the other's passion. As unyielding as a force of nature, Maya left his office with her heart pounding, filled with a quiet satisfaction. Even if she didn't win the battle that day, she had planted seeds of doubt about the rigid structure that governed their lives. She had earned a reputation not just as a troublemaker, but as a voice championing meaningful change. Days passed, and the school was abuzz with speculation about Maya's next move. Her singular spirit had set a precedent that could no longer be ignored. She learned that true triumph wasn't just about winning a single battle. It was about igniting a fire in those around. Her, a fire that just might transform the very fabric of their educational experience. The stage was being set for a school-wide assembly that not only had the potential to address the new rules, but also to redefine what it meant to learn and thrive in a world that often demanded compliance over creativity. Maya felt the frustration bubbling inside her throughout that entire week, particularly after the debate that had sparked her determination to push back against the unreasonable rules. The more she observed her teachers enforce those regulations with an iron fist, the more she recognized their role as barriers to the intellectual freedom she desperately craved. It was not just about clothing choices or how often a student raised their hand. It was something much larger, the very essence of what it meant to learn and grow into independent thinkers. During lunch one day, she sat with her friends, Sarah and Marcus, who mirrored her sentiments. There was a growing unrest amongst her peers, but the fear of reprimand stifled their voices. As they shared their frustrations over soggy sandwiches and too strong cafeteria coffee, Maya's resolve solidified. "Why do we let them control us like this?" she said, her tone betraying both urgency and disbelief. "It's not just about missing out on expressing ourselves. They're suffocating our opportunities to think critically." "Maybe we should talk to them," Marcus suggested hesitantly, his eyes darting around as if he expected a teacher to overhear their conversation. You know, hold some kind of forum to discuss these issues. Maya shook her head dismissively. What good would that do? We'd just be shouted down again. No, we need to make a statement that they can't ignore. As her friends pondered her words, Maya felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought of challenging the status quo. It was clear now. The only way to enact change was to galvanize her classmates. They needed a plan, something bold yet cohesive, that would capture the attention of their teachers and the administration alike. The following day, amidst the routine bustle of classes, Maya decided to approach a few more classmates after school. She began by reaching out to students she knew had similar experiences of frustration, those who often remained silent, but whose opinions burned just below the surface. With each small gathering, Maya began to feel less isolated in her convictions. Students shared stories of times teachers had abruptly dismissed their questions or shamed them for their attire. They laughed nervously at the absurdity of being told what to think and how to express themselves. Slowly, the idea of organizing a student-led assembly took shape. Maya envisioned an event where students would feel empowered to voice their concerns openly. Armed with their stories, they could shine a light on the pervasive issues that plagued their everyday learning environment, forcing those in authority to confront the consequences of their rigid rules. The chatter amongst the students grew. A sense of anticipation swirled around them, filling the school hallways with a vibrant undercurrent. As Maya finally stood in front of her friends to present the plan she had meticulously crafted, she noticed a flicker of hope in their eyes. This could be the moment they all had been waiting for, the chance to reclaim their agency and influence the way learning unfolded within the confines of their classroom. All they had to do was take this leap together, proving that silence in the face of authority would no longer be their default response. Change was upon them, and for the first time, Maya felt ready to embrace it. As the lunchtime bell rang, Maya felt a buzz of nervous energy surging through her. It was a typical Monday, the cafeteria bustling with the chatter of students, and yet she was acutely aware of the weight of her thoughts, the nagging insistence that something needed to change. Today, she had decided, would be different. Instead of isolating her feelings, she would share them with her friends. As she found a table with Sarah, Alex, and Jamila, she took a deep breath and prepared to lay her thoughts bare. "Guys, can we talk?" she began, her voice steady yet tinged with urgency. They paused mid-bite, curiosity etched on their faces. "I've been feeling really frustrated with how our voices seem to vanish when it comes to our education. It's like we're just supposed to accept everything thrown at us, without question." Sarah nodded, her brows knitted in solidarity. "You're right. Sometimes it feels like we don't get a say in anything, especially when it comes to our classes or the rules that seem to be made in a vacuum. I want to have a voice too." Encouraged, Maya pressed on. "What if we didn't just accept it? What if we joined together and made our concerns heard?" A flicker of excitement sparked in the air as Alex leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. "I love that idea. We should definitely brainstorm what we can do. We can't be the only ones feeling this way," he replied, already lost in a whirlwind of possibilities. Jamila, ever the pragmatist, began to jot down notes on the back of a napkin. "We could start by researching what rights we have as students. There must be something in place that protects us." The group launched into spirited conversation, each suggestion bouncing off the walls of their shared determination. As they exchanged ideas, Maya felt lighter, inspired by the synergy of their thoughts. Together, they discussed the concept of student assemblies, a forum where their voices could echo instead of being stifled. They envisioned monthly meetings where students could openly express their concerns, collectively addressing issues that impacted their lives on a daily basis. Yet, the discussions were not without their challenges. The more they delved into their plan, the more aware they became of the uphill battle they faced. Jamila brought up the hesitation of many students, who might be fearful of repercussions. Not everyone will want to step out of the shadows. We'll have to find a way to make this safe for them, she suggested. Maya felt a surge of solidarity as her friends rallied around the idea of inclusivity, and a fierce resolve began to swell within her. They discussed strategies, from gathering anonymous testimonies to hosting open forums that would have no repercussions for participating students. Despite their fears, they were determined to stand united and be the change they wished to see. With each meeting, the bond between them deepened. A blend of trust, resilience, and a shared vision of justice began to form an unbreakable fabric. They realized that their collective action could not only challenge the status quo, but plant the seeds of a movement that could inspire change, one voice at a time. As they left the cafeteria that afternoon, Maya felt an unfamiliar but exhilarating sense of hope. They were no longer alone. They were a team, united in a cause that had the potential to reshape their school and perhaps even themselves. Maya's voice quivered slightly, but determination overshot her nerves. The assembly hall was packed, an eclectic mix of students fidgeting in their seats and teachers shuffling papers. A vibrant banner proclaimed Achievement Day. Yet Maya felt a heaviness in the air, a disconnect between the celebration of academic success and the harsh realities faced by many. The principal, oblivious to her inner turmoil, spoke with enthusiasm that felt more hollow than heartfelt. As he lauded the achievements of his brightest students, she could only think of those who stayed silent, stifled under the weight of judgment and neglect. Every word he uttered deepened her frustration. It was not that she resented academic excellence. Rather, it was the narrow definition of success that bothered her. Education, she thought, should champion diverse talents and unique perspectives, not merely reinforce a singular standard. The applause echoed off the walls after each announcement, an applause that felt like chains clanking against the ideals she cherished. It sparked a fire within her, and Maya clenched her fists, her resolve strengthening with each passing moment. As the principal prepared to conclude his speech, Maya felt the tide of her emotions rise uncontrollably. She was buoyed by the thought of her classmates, those battling anxiety and those who felt invisible. She was not alone in her sentiments. With her heart racing, she stood up, an unfamiliar sense of power flowing through her veins. Silence blanketed the assembly. Every eye fell upon her as if she were the only being in the room. "Excuse me." Her voice, though shaky, rang out with an unexpectedly steady tone. The collective gaze of students and staff weighed upon her, but it anchored her. In that charged moment, she became a vessel of voiceless anguish, carrying the hopes and frustrations of her peers. "I want to talk about our school environment. There's more than just grades that define us. And this pressure, it's suffocating." Whispers of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Maya found a connection deepening with each declaration of empathy that filled the air. "Many of us are struggling," she continued, emboldened. "Some of us feel like we don't belong here, that our worth is measured by our scores, rather than our character, our creativity, and our dreams." Though a few teachers exchanged skeptical glances, Maya noticed the nods of understanding from her classmates, particularly in the back row where those often overlooked stood tall in solidarity. Their eyes sparkled with gratitude and recognition, a tapestry of shared struggles woven into the fabric of collective resistance. With each word she delivered, the room shifted. Some teachers rolled their eyes, dismissing her as a mere student with foolish aspirations. Yet, for every dismissive glance, 10 students leaned forward, eager to show their support. Maya could feel the tremors of change begin to echo through the hall, a subtle shift heralding the fierceness that brewed within her, and those who dared to believe that things could be different. This was only the beginning, she thought, of a revolution sparked not by anger, but by the unfaltering courage to demand better. Maya walked through the crowded hallways, the weight of the recent backlash pressing down on her shoulders like an unwelcome shroud. Whispers snaked through the air as students half-heartedly exchanged hushed comments about her recent stand against the administration. Some offered sympathetic glances, while others remarked with disdain, echoing the sentiments of the faculty. It was disheartening to see her own peers influenced by their teachers' disapproval. The cacophony of chatter began to morph into a pervasive hum of uncertainty, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. The first instance had come unexpectedly. Mrs. Thompson, a normally supportive mathematics teacher, had summoned Maya to her desk after class. With a stern expression, she issued a detention slip claiming Maya had been distracting other students during a lesson about quadratic equations. "You need to understand that this kind of behavior isn't conducive to learning," Mrs. Thompson had said, the words heavy with irony. This was just the beginning. Soon the floodgates opened. Other teachers followed suit, and Maya quickly found herself landing in detention more frequently than she could count. It was an unsettling experience, one that made her feel as though she was being hunted for bravery. Yet, Maya sensed a flicker of hope among her friends. Daisy, with her wild curls and infectious laughter, rallied their group together during lunch, insisting on bold action. "We can't let them silence you, Maya. We need to show them what we stand for," she urged, eyes sparkling with determination. Together, they had tossed around ideas and plans, sketching out what would soon evolve into the groundwork for a peaceful protest. Handmade posters were drawn up, slogans fashioned to invoke thought and challenge the status quo. They debated the best time to stage their demonstration, finally settling on the last period of the day when most students would be free. Word spread quickly, fueled by shared messages and whispered conversations in hallways. On the day of the protest, Maya felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. Standing in the center of the schoolyard, clutching a bright poster that read, "Our Voices Matter," she was both terrified and exhilarated by the sight of her peers gathering around her. As they chanted slogans, their voices unified into a powerful chorus. It felt electric, each voice a testament to their shared courage. Maya realized in that moment that they weren't just standing up for their rights, they were building a community. The faculty's response was swift and severe. Principal Jacobs, with his usual authoritarian air, stepped out to assess the chaos. "This is not how we handle disagreements," he bellowed, trying to quiet the crowd, but his words fell flat against the wall of students' collective determination. The protest continued, each chant becoming louder as Maya inspired those around her to push past their fears. She could feel the foundation of the institution shake subtly beneath the fervor of their united front, and with it, she found her own resolve, hardening. Maya knew the faculty thrived on fear and control, but she had cast off their grip. Today, she trusted that each challenge they faced only paved the way to a more authentic testament to who they were, unbreakable, unwavering, and fiercely alive. The atmosphere in the school transformed as Maya's fearless articulation of student grievances began to circulate. Initially, the gathering had been small, a handful of her closest friends who had stood by her side, whispering support in the hallways and exchanging knowing glances during classes. But now, that handful had burgeoned into a vibrant collective. Each student arrived with their own stories and perspectives, all of them echoing themes of frustration and ambition for change. The lunchroom, once a site of casual chatter and social cliques, morphed into a bustling forum where ideas were exchanged and plans were hatched. Maya became a catalyst for this dynamic. She created a social media page dedicated to the movement, AI, digital space where students could not only vent their frustrations, but also propose solutions to the issues plaguing their school. The response was staggering. What started as a trickle of comments swiftly transformed into a flood of testimonials, students detailing their experiences with the lack of resources, the stifling structure of the curriculum, and the pervasive feeling of being unheard. Maya crafted posts that highlighted these stories, ensuring each voice resonated and felt validated. Her digital platform became both a sanctuary and a battlefront. Teachers began to observe, some at first with skepticism, while others grew curious. They watched as students who once shuffled through the halls with their heads down now walked with a newfound confidence. Maya, though just one among many, had assumed an unexpected leadership role. Teachers who had previously kept a distance from student concerns found themselves scrutinizing their own practices. Familiar faces among the faculty began to appear at these informal assemblies as they sought to engage with the students. They drew closer, listening intently to the fervor in their voices. Yet there were others, those who dismissively brushed off the movement, standing firm in their belief that the students were merely restless. As these contrasting responses surfaced, divisions began to deepen. Some faculty members perceived Maya as a troublemaker, someone stirring unrest for the sake of disruption. They feared this uprising would alter their carefully curated classroom dynamics. Others, however, recognized in her a spark of potential that couldn't be ignored. They engaged her in dialogue, discussing not just the complaints, but also exploring methodologies that might invigorate the stagnant curriculum. These conversations held promise, but were often shadowed by the reluctance of those entrenched in traditional roles of authority. In the midst of all this, Maya felt a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. The stakes had never been higher. As the momentum rose, so did the scrutiny, and with that, the weight of her growing influence. Each post, each assembly tested her resolve. She was determined to be a bridge, to foster understanding and communication between a divided student body and faculty. This was more than just a school initiative. It was a movement to reshape their collective experience. The direction it would take depended on the willingness of both students and teachers to engage with one another and acknowledge the chasm that had formed between them. Maya stood at the center of this tempest, an unwitting hero advocating for a more equitable future, not just for herself, but for all her peers. The atmosphere in the meeting room was charged with an unusual blend of apprehension and anticipation. Maya stood at the head of the long conference table, her heart racing, yet she held her composure. The school administration, a mix of stern-faced officials who usually exuded an air of indifference, now appeared slightly more engaged, curiosity flickering behind their eyes. She took a deep breath, recalling the countless nights spent preparing for this moment, crafting her proposal with care, backing it with data from the recent student survey, and weaving the stories shared with her by classmates. Her voice, though initially trembling, found strength as she began to articulate her vision for change. She unfolded a crisp presentation, laden with charts and graphs that illustrated the stark reality of the student experience. Each data point was a note in the symphony of dissent that had been brewing beneath the surface. A silent cry now echoed in vibrant colors. Maya felt the weight of her peers' hopes on her shoulders, and with each slide she presented, she felt their encouragement surrounding her like a protective cloak. As she spoke about the testimonials collected, she could sense a shift in the room. Students had opened up about feelings of isolation and exclusion, detailing experiences that highlighted the stark divide between those who felt seen and those who did not. These weren't just statistics. They were voices that had been waiting too long for someone to amplify them. Maya's words danced around the table, igniting reaction in the faculty members. The initial surprise on their faces had morphed into deep contemplation. One of the more seasoned teachers, Mr. Thompson, known for his stern demeanor, wrinkled his brow as he listened. When Maya concluded her presentation, he cleared his throat, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "I had no idea things were this challenging for so many of you," he admitted, a hint of regret lacing his words. This was a breakthrough, a chink in the usual resistance that had defined discussions around student issues. Another faculty member, Ms. Patel, chimed in, her tone more supportive. Perhaps it's time we created a more structured platform for ongoing dialogue, she suggested, her eyes flickering with ideas. The administration's agreement to a roundtable discussion felt like a small but crucial victory, one that signaled a potential shift in campus culture. The thought of sitting down as equals was exhilarating for Maya and her friends. They gathered around the table like knights planning for a crucial battle, armed with newfound belief and determination. As they left the meeting, the air outside felt different. There was a sense of purpose, a collective unspoken promise that things might change. Each face was lit with quiet triumph. They had faced the daunting machinery of the institution and emerged not unscathed, but emboldened. This meeting wasn't just a blip. It marked the beginning of a new chapter. Each small triumph that followed would fortify their resolve, building a movement not only for themselves, but for those who had felt voiceless for too long. Maya smiled, feeling a spark of hope igniting within her, ready to nurture it into a flame for change. As the weeks progressed following the roundtable discussions, a palpable change began to ripple through the hallways of Jefferson High. Whispers of the newly established Student Advisory Board ignited a sense of excitement among students, a feeling that was once foreign to the bustling corridors dominated by the routine of classes and after-school activities. Maya watched as her peers, once resigned to silence, started to engage in animated conversations about school policies that had previously seemed immutable. The walls that had separated administration from student body were slowly but surely beginning to crumble. Maya found herself sitting in the cafeteria one afternoon with a group of her classmates, their tables strewn with open notebooks and cafeteria trays haphazardly pushed aside. The air was dense with enthusiasm as they brainstormed ways to present their ideas at the first advisory board meeting scheduled for the following week. There was something invigorating about witnessing her friends articulate their thoughts with a confidence that had been absent not long ago. Maya could scarcely contain her pride as she listened to Aaliyah discuss the need for more diverse literature options in their English classes, and Malik advocating for a more robust mental health program. It was as if the spark they needed had finally caught fire. As the discussions became heated, Maya allowed herself a moment of reflection. This newfound engagement was not solely a response to the discussions they had initiated. It was a culmination of the entire journey leading up to this moment. The shared experiences, the collective frustrations, and the courage to stand up had intertwined their fates. This was more than a student board. It was a movement toward empowerment. When the advisory board convened for the first time, the atmosphere was buzzing with both excitement and trepidation. Maya stepped into the room feeling a mix of exhilaration and nervousness. The administrators were present, their faces a blend of curiosity and caution. It was a new territory for everyone involved. Maya took a deep breath, reminding herself that they had every right to sit at this table, to voice their needs and to be heard. During the meeting, students presented their proposals with a mix of passion and professionalism. Teachers who once epitomized authority now listened intently, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue as students shared their well-researched ideas. The dialogue opened doors that Maya had long imagined, as they started to see not just adults making decisions, but individuals willing to collaborate and grow alongside their students. As the meeting drew to a close, Maya experienced a rush of hope. Although the path ahead remained lined with challenges, some administration members still held onto outdated views, she recognized that incremental changes were underway. It no longer felt like an uphill battle against a monolithic system. There was promise, a sense that, despite the obstacles, the direction was clear, and they were moving forward together. Each word spoken in that room was a brick laid down for a future where students would hold a reclaimed sense of agency. The path of compromise and growth was just beginning, and Maya was all in. As Maya stood on the threshold of her school during that warm June afternoon, She marveled at how much had changed in just 1 year. The vibrant buzz of laughter and chatter enveloped her as students milled about the courtyard, their faces illuminated with the promise of summer. Yet, amidst this carefree atmosphere, a sense of purpose settled deep within her. She was no longer merely a participant in the school system. She had become an architect of change, a student who had learned the power of her own voice. Reflecting on the numerous projects she had initiated, from the Student Council's mental health awareness campaign to the successful push for more diverse literature in the KAU curriculum, Maya felt a surge of pride. Yet, this wasn't just about her accomplishments. It was about the community that had rallied around these endeavors. Students who had once felt sidelined had discovered an avenue to express their opinions and ideas. Teachers, too, had started to listen, forging connections with their students that went beyond the syllabus. It was a small but significant revolution, one that Maya had ignited, but that was nurtured by contributions from everyone around her. However, she understood that these changes, while promising, were fragile and easily lost if not tended to. The conversations held in the halls need to evolve into concrete actions, and that responsibility weighed heavily on her. She envisioned a future where the culture of engagement would thrive long after she had moved on. A vision where every student felt empowered to speak up, uninhibited by fear or doubt. She could see it clearly. The next generation of students carrying on the legacy of collaboration and advocacy. Maya turned her attention back to her peers, noticing a group gathered around the newly unveiled mural that celebrated their school's diversity. The colors danced upon the wall, a vivid reminder of the stories and experiences each student brought to their shared space. This mural was not just a work of art, it was a symbol of unity, a testament to the collective journey they had undertaken. Each brushstroke represented an individual narrative, woven together to form a tapestry of courage and resilience. It reminded her that their work had created a platform for voices that had been silenced for too long. Yet as she watched them discuss the mural's significance, Maya recognized that the next step was to institutionalize these changes within the school's framework. She sketched out ideas in her mind for a legacy committee, one that could empower future students to carry the torch of advocacy forward. It would be a space where ideas could flourish, where student concerns could be made clear to faculty, creating a bridge that hadn't existed before. Maya envisioned a yearly summit where students and teachers exchanged ideas, reinforcing mutual respect and understanding. The light began to fade, but Maya felt the glow of endless possibilities warming her spirit. She understood parental involvement would play a crucial role in this endeavor. Reaching out to families and engaging them as partners in education would create a fuller picture. She wanted the parents to feel invited into the dialogue, not just as observers, but as essential participants. Taking a deep breath, she made her way toward a nearby group, her heart thrumming with excitement and hope. She was ready to share her vision for the Legacy Committee, to spark a conversation and invite others into her dream. This was not just her journey, it was theirs as well. Together, they would craft a legacy filled with passion, respect, and endless curiosity for generations to come. A legacy worth leaving behind.